The Gloomspite Gitz are my favorite faction from Age of Sigmar, and in fact, they're probably one of my favorite armies in any game system. I mean, what's not to love? You've got a cult of sneaky goblins, you've got mushroom-maddened goblins riding bouncing cave squigs, you have menacing yet hilariously charming trolls, a tribe of spider-riding goblins, and now, finally, we see a return to an old classic, goblins riding wolves, and goblins being launched across the sky. Now, Games Workshop knows how much I love the faction, so when they announced the brand new Gitmob army box, they reached out to me with the challenge. Create an epic display board for armies on parade to show off my own Gitmob army, complete with a gorgeous centerpiece character and the new units from the faction. Of course, I could never resist a challenge, especially one involving my favorite Gitz. So in today's video, we're going to be taking the project head on and creating our own Gitmob army display. This project is part of New Year, New Challenge, where we can take on new challenges, including creating new armies, new display boards, learning new painting techniques, and diving into Warhammer even further. Of course, we're gamers, so if you want to take on the challenge head on, there is a bingo game you can try to complete. I'm going to be going for the diagonal line for a big bingo in one fell swoop. Will I succeed or crash and burn trying? Let's find out. I want the structure of the board to really reflect one of my favorite parts about this faction, and this is the dynamic of the Bad Moon. If you're not familiar with the Bad Moon, it is this entity that the goblins worship. It obviously appears at night because it is a moon, even though it's magical, and this essentially is when the goblins are in their greatest force, their greatest power, and they follow it throughout the various different realms. So they ascend to the surface, bringing all their bugs, their trolls, their squigs, and all their gripblies along with them, only appearing at night. Now, of course, night eventually ends, and with that the sun comes out, and this is of course from the realm of Shyish. Now the goblins hate the sun, they hate the realm of Shyish, but they've given it a name. This is Glareface Frazzlegit. That's what they call the sun. And although they hate it, they also have a lot of respect for it, because what is more powerful than the Bad Moon? Well, the sun, Glareface Frazzlegit. Every single day he comes and he chases the Bad Moon away. So while they hate it, they have a lot of respect for it. With this, we bring in the Gitmob. These are basically surface riding goblins that come out during the sun trying to capture it and harness that power. And in this display board, I really want to exemplify that. So what I'm thinking is we are going to have a sort of crescent or moon-shaped cave where the goblins are essentially coming out of. We're going to see the entrance to that with a sort of like gray material, maybe with some like purple light, which matches my existing Gitmob. And the rest of the display board is going to be this sort of surface of a desert where we have the new Gitmob riding across it, chasing the sun across the sky. It's going to be cool because we'll have a nice sun and moon motif going on within the display board that I'm very excited to do, and I think it really completes the faction in a way I didn't think I needed. So let's dive on in and take a look. If you've ever made a display board before, you know that pink foam is extremely important to the project. When I say pink foam, I'm talking about XPS foam. This is commonly used in insulation and makes for a great basis to your board, and you can also use it to build up larger structures. In this case, I'm going to be using it to create, of course, the moon cave. So I'm going to grab some sheets of that. I'm going to go ahead and glue various layers overnight to create a nice height, and then from that we can kind of start carving them out and laying them out. So what we have here is we've gone ahead and used our template and traced over it to kind of see where the faces are going to line up. We're going to have to add a little bit of a nose here, which is fine. And we're going to carve this out. I've labeled these as top bottoms. These are both the bottoms of the cave, and we'll do the top ones in a second. And then the rest will also build out here. This is kind of where the ramp's going to go. So we're going to carve out this, and then start sloping it up. With the first layers glued, it's time to actually go ahead and lay out the whole thing and start slicing up into this giant circle. The shape of the display board presents an interesting challenge in the sense that if you want to have the moon and the sun be inset into the moon, the part of the board that's actually going to be the sun is pretty small. So to help work with that, I'm going to actually have the sun ramp into the moon so we can have these goblins kind of running around the ground, and then also having them come up and above the structure itself. This is something that's pretty important when you build your own display boards because you need to really have the display board complement the army and not the other way around. So this way we're going to have additional little areas where we can have our goblins up top, down below, and really tell the story of the sun and the moon on the board. So what I'm looking at now is we have, of course, the shape of the Bad Moon head here. We have the nose and the top and the bottom of it, and we have the sort of indent where the mouth is, and then we have the indent where the eyes are. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually go ahead and take this bottom layer, and I'm going to kind of keep digging in, keep burrowing. We're going to make a little cave inside of there where we can also embed a light. We might do the same thing for the eyes as well, and then we can have a little section in the back where we can set it, diffuse it, and then plug it in the back. So we're gonna go ahead and do that now. Hello.
How's my poor sick angel baby?
I'm a sick boy.
For 40 more points, I can take 6 interceptors, which I'm like, you kind of actually break even on because it's like then you don't have to take Uriel.
Right. True.
My thing is like and a lot of people are gonna like hate me for saying it. Take Torque Gyarados. It's a little too much too fast.
Yeah, that's fair.
I want things more like kind of like Grey Knights, kind of like Blood Angels of like, you have these independent pieces that are very good and they play on their own.
Yeah, it's fair. So we have the main structure of the cave and everything set up. Right now I'm just trying to figure out the layout of basically where the model's gonna go, what do we need up here. Right now it's very, very flat. And I have my original Loon Shrine here. I have a new one from Games Workshop that I'm gonna actually go ahead and cut out and have it basically be crashed down here in the front up top, which is, you know, kind of an important part of like the lore. That's like when the Gloomspite basically they gather around these like crashed pieces of the Bad Moon. So looking at that, looking at the back here, I think we're gonna go ahead and build this up with a bit of foam and create these kind of hoodoos, which you actually do see in the battle tome itself, with sort of like chains and like metal bits and things like that that they have basically stolen from others. And then we can have like the wolves coming down here, chariots in the bottom probably, and then our fearless leader up in the front, which will be pretty sick, overlooking everything. So I think it's coming together. So there's always a few questions, no matter how much you plan, that you can't really answer until it's time. So let's see what we got.
With the overall structure done, it's time to texture everything with real rock, apply those mandatory Sylvaneth bits for the cave entrances, and get texture painting. To do so, I've enlisted Doc Mel, whose tiny hands are perfect for the caves. For texture painting, I used both variations of Agrelin, mixing them where appropriate to get a nice gravelly texture. Moving on to painting, approximately a bucket load of Xandra dust later, we have our base coats, and we can start adding shadows, dry brush the highlights, and finally, the sweet warm glow of the evil sun. And what about the goblins themselves? Well, as we were building out the board and letting the layers dry, we were very busy painting many wolves and their little riders. With that, we let Lindsay do her movie magic to bring you these. I am so incredibly proud of this project, but what about the bingo? Did we do it? Let's take a look. For the diagonal line, we needed to paint a Warhammer Age of Sigmar centerpiece miniature, check. We needed to paint an Age of Sigmar character, also check. We have a free slot which we decided to build a display board for, check. And we needed to paint a unit of Age of Sigmar models, check, check, and check. All that was left to do was play a game of Spearhead with my brand new Gitz. Oh, what's that? Oh, right, a bingo! We did it!
And there we have it, our own Gitmob army box and display. Hopefully you enjoyed this project. I hope it might be a little bit of an inspiration for some of you folks out there. I think it's a really cool opportunity to push yourself, to learn something new, like I did in this project. So of course, let me know in the comments below what you're gonna be working on. Is there a new army that you have for new army, new challenge? Super excited to get this army on the board on stream, so stay tuned for that coming soon.
We'll catch you all next time on the tabletop. Bye!